The morning sun had barely begun to warm the sprawling green lawns of the grand estate when a sudden commotion broke the quiet air near the front gates. Chester was marching with a look of absolute determination on his face, his hand firmly gripping the wrist of an incredibly bewildered young woman. Jane looked down at her captured hand and then up at him, her eyes wide with total confusion. She tried to slow her pace, but Chester kept moving forward like a man on a very specific mission. "Chester, what are you doing?" Jane asked, trying to keep her voice steady while keeping up with his long strides. "I am taking you home," Chester replied without missing a beat, his face a mask of pure seriousness. Jane pulled back slightly, though she did not succeed in breaking his grip. "What for?" "So you can cook for me and take care of me," Chester said, stating it as if it were the most logical thing in the entire world. Jane stopped dead in her tracks, forcing him to finally halt and look back at her. "Are you mad?" Chester blinked, his confident expression softening just a fraction into confusion. "I thought you was bored. Your mother always wanted a big wedding. But if you insist, Willie Lowe." Jane let out a breathy laugh, realizing there had been a monumental misunderstanding somewhere along the line. She gently but firmly pulled her hand away from his grasp and smoothed down her skirt. "I am awful sorry you got the wrong notion, Miss Jane. You see, I ain't got marriage in mind. It is just cooking and such." "Oh, I see," Jane said, the pieces of the puzzle finally falling into place in her mind. Inside the great stone house, a different kind of domestic crisis was unfolding in the kitchen. Jed Clampett stood near the table, looking down at a large plate of something that defied description. It was a culinary creation that seemed to possess its own unique gravitational pull. Ellie Mae stood beside him, beaming with pride and holding a massive wooden spoon like a trophy. "Granny has not returned from Petticoat Junction," Jethro murmured, leaning against the doorframe with a look of profound hunger and deep despair. "And Ellie is trying to take her place. And it is pitiful." "Well, how is your Uncle Jed managing?" Jane asked, having just walked through the door to find the family gathered around the kitchen island. "I ain't seen much of him since Ellie commands cooking," Jethro whispered back, making sure his voice did not carry over to where Ellie was proudly dusting flour off her apron. "If he has got his hiding places, I got mine." Jed, trying to look busy and helpful, began sweeping at the floor with an old broom. "Oh, I was just getting rid of a few of these ants here," he said, offered as a quick explanation for his sudden interest in housework. "I don't say no, Ellie began, looking at the broom. "Oh, done a good job, didn't I?" "Sure did," Jed said, giving her a warm, encouraging smile that did not quite reach his worried eyes. "And as a reward," Ellie said, her face lighting up with excitement, "I am going to give you a double helping of what I just cut." Jed stared at the plate, his stomach giving a slight, defensive growl. "Oh, Ellie, I don't think I am up to eating a full meal right now. Why don't you just heat me up by a can of that fine tomato soup that is in there in the cupboard?" "Oh, but I fixed you a special treat that I might have all by myself," Ellie insisted, leaning in with a mysterious grin. "I call it my surprise note." "Oh," Jed muttered, his heart sinking.
"Oh, come on."
"Oh, Ellie," Jed said quickly, his mind racing for any plausible avenue of escape. "I just thought of something. Guess what is going to be awful hurt if I eat without him? I will go find a boy."
"How?"
"Jethro ain't here. He took the truck and left." "When did he do that?" Jed asked, surprised. "Well, I think it was right after I told him I was going to cook a surprise note," Ellie said, tapping her chin thoughtfully. "More than likely," Jed said with a nod of deep understanding. Meanwhile, miles away at the local crossroads, the telephone lines were humming with activity. Sam Drucker stood behind the counter of his general store, the heavy black receiver pressed tightly to his ear. "That is right, operator," Sam said, nodding at the empty store as if the woman on the other end of the line could see him. "She is at the Shady Rest Hotel in Petticoat Junction. But the nearest phone is at Sam Drucker's store in Hooterville."
Uh-huh. Thank you. Bye."
Sam hung up the phone just as the front door flew open with a bang. Granny came bursting into the store like a small, calico whirlwind, her bonnet slightly askew and her face flushed from exertion. This is going to get a message to Granny to come to town and call, Sam muttered to himself just before she arrived at the counter. Hi, Granny. Howdy, Mr. Drucker, Granny said, catching her breath but looking entirely undaunted. Did you send for me? Well, yeah, Granny, Sam said, staring at her in disbelief. How did you get here so fast? I run, Granny said simply, as if it were nothing at all. It is only 6 miles. Why didn't you catch the train? Sam asked, leaning over the counter. I did, Granny replied with a proud toss of her head. I caught it, and I passed it. Sam shook his head, deciding it was best not to argue with the laws of physics when it came to Granny. He turned back to the old wall phone and cranked the handle. Sarah? This is Sam. Sarah, Granny is here now, so you can get a hold of that Beverly Hills operator and have her call us back, huh? Thanks, Sarah. He hung up and looked back at the elderly woman who was already inspecting a jar of pickled eggs. Well, Granny, how is Betty Jo's baby? Oh, just fine and dandy, Granny said, her tone suddenly turning serious.
Now?
Sam asked, catching the shift in her voice. Was something wrong? Something wrong, Granny repeated, leaning in close and lowering her voice to a dramatic whisper. Mr. Drucker, what I done for that baby is a miracle. A medical miracle. What was wrong? Sam asked, completely intrigued. What did you do? Oh, sorry. I can't tell you, Granny said, suddenly straightening her posture and looking very professional. That would be violating the confidence between the patient and the doctor. I wish I could tell you, but me being a physician, my lips are sealed. You understand? Oh, of course, Sam said, hiding a smile. But it was one doozy of a miracle. Now, if you was another doctor, I could tell you. Have you ever been a doctor? No, Sam admitted. Ever been a patient? Granny asked, her eyes narrowing. Oh, yes, Sam said.
Oh,
Granny exclaimed, clapping her hands together. Well, then I won't be violating the confidence between the doctor and the patient. Mr. Drucker, in all my 60 years of doctoring, I have never been so shook up as I was the first time I peeked into that crib and saw Betty Jo's baby. It looked for all the world like an Airedale puppy. Jake is alive, and I thought Chester was an ugly baby. You say it looked like an Airedale puppy? Sam asked, his eyebrows reaching his hairline. And not even the pit of a litter, Granny confirmed with a solemn nod. But I brought it back to normal with my miracle medicine. Say, Granny, Sam said, remembering something. As I remember, you left your spectacles in Andy Partner's jitney, so it just could be. Do you think I need these? Granny interrupted, gesturing to her eyes. I got eyes like a hawk. I only use them for professional reasons, because you don't trust a young-looking doctor. The telephone on the wall suddenly let out a loud, shrill ring. I bet that is your call from Beverly Hills, Sam said, reaching for the receiver. I will get it. Hello? Granny? Yeah, this is Granny. Who is talking? This is Sam Drucker, but... It ain't me, Granny shouted, pointing a finger at him. Sam Drucker is right here with me. Your other phone's ringing. Thanks, I will get it, Sam said, switching over to the second line on the counter. Hello? 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 Oh, yeah, right here, Sarah. Granny, it is your call from Beverly Hills. Well, you take this phone, Granny instructed, shoving the other receiver into his hand, and tell that smart aleck that it is against the law to play pranks on doctors and firemen. I will do that, Sam said into the mouthpiece. Hello? Hello, Granny? A booming voice came through the wire all the way from California. This here is Jethro. Speak up, boy, we got a bad connection, Sam said, trying to clear the static. Oh, no you don't. Now, I got strict orders from Sam not to let you loose in the store. Now, come here.
come on.
Last time, you went through a whole sack of dog biscuits, remember? Hello? Hello, Ernie? Sam called out, shaking the phone slightly. Oh, thank you. That is a better connection. Hi, Sam. Granny? Well, if it isn't a proud father, Granny said, taking the phone from Sam at last. Say, did those things come in that we ordered for the baby? Yeah, they are in the back, Sam answered for the caller. How is Betty Jo? Oh, she's fine, the voice on the other end said, sounding a bit tired. The baby had a bad night.
Oh?
Granny asked, her medical instincts instantly flaring up. Yeah, started howling about 3 this morning, kept it up till dawn, the voice explained. Good, Granny said with a satisfied nod. The little thing reverted. Must have been a full moon last night.
Granny.
Granny. Jethro's voice suddenly cut through the line, loud and frantic.
Huh. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jethro, Granny said, recognizing the boy's shout. What do you want? You gotta come home and cook for us, Jethro pleaded, his voice cracking with emotion. We need you something desperate. Not as desperate as they need me here, Granny countered proudly. Cooks are a dime a dozen. But where can the parents of that poor blighted baby get another miracle working doctor? Back in Beverly Hills, Jane was trying her best to manage the situation. She stood in the sleek, modern office of a local establishment, looking at Jethro, who was pacing the floor like a caged animal. "Kay, come on back here," Jane said, trying to calm him down. "Wait, little baby, wait. That little boomer might be homely, but it is the fastest crawler I have ever seen. Jethro, I think I have the solution to your food problem. This is an employment agency where you can hire maids, cooks, and all domestic help." "Well, Miss Jane, I think you done saved my life," Jethro said, his eyes shining with sudden hope. "How can I thank you? As the poet says, with hugs and kisses, debts are paid," Jane quoted with a dramatic flourish. "When settling score, fix man and maid."
Dog.
Jethro exclaimed, slapping his knee. "I will be sure and hire a pretty one." A few hours later, Jethro came bursting through the front doors of the Clampett mansion, shouting at the top of his lungs. "Uncle Jed, where is Danny? That is what you call real soul food. Uncle Jed, Uncle Jed." "Out here in the kitchen, Jethro," Jed's calm voice drifted back through the hallway. Jethro ran into the kitchen, nearly slipping on the polished floor. "Uncle Jed, have I got a surprise?" "I don't think I can stay in another one today," Jed said, looking up from his cup of tea with a weary smile. "Wait till you see her," Jethro beamed. "Her?" Jed asked, raising an eyebrow. "Miss Jane sent me to an employment agency," Jethro explained excitedly, "so I hired us an imported cook, direct from Italy." "Well, fetch her in, boy," Jed said, feeling a sudden wave of relief at the prospect of proper food. "She don't speak much English," Jethro said, leaning in confidentially, "but I done learned Italian." "Just today?" Jed asked, entirely incredulous. "Well, yeah," Jethro said, tapping his forehead proudly. "You got to remember, this is the brain of a 6th grader.
Now watch.
I am going to call her in genuine Italian.
A bambina.
A bringing yourself to the kitch." "Oh, that is Italian for kitchen. Good girl. Pick up them 4 languages just like that. Ain't she something?" A young woman walked into the kitchen, looking elegant and entirely charming despite her obvious confusion. She wore a beautifully tailored dress and held a small travel bag. "Mighty pretty girl," Jed observed, tipping his hat to her. "And she can cook, huh?" "Victuals is all she thinks about," Jethro declared. "Watch this."
Howdy.
"Ciao," the young woman replied with a polite smile.
See?
Jethro said triumphantly. "She must have mentioned ciao at least a dozen times today already. Senior Maria, this here is my Uncle Jed." "Howdy," Jed said kindly. "Ciao," Maria repeated.
See?
"There she goes again," Jethro laughed. Maria looked around the clean, spacious kitchen and smiled warmly.
Può essere un piacere lavorare per voi come cuciniera ed aspetta che ti piaccia.
"What did you say?" Jed asked, turning to his nephew for a translation. "Oh, I ain't too sure, Uncle Jed," Jethro admitted, scratching his head. "I don't understand Italian as good as I talk it." "Well, we is mighty pleased to have you here, Miss, Jed said, gesturing toward the table.
Grazie. Ci è bellissimo, Maria replied gracefully.
"Mighty pretty name," Jed smiled. "Oh, that ain't her name," Jethro corrected quickly. "That is probably something she is going to cook for us. Oh, Ellie, come on over and meet this young lady." Ellie Mae had just walked into the room, holding her wooden spoon like a defensive weapon. "Senior Maria,